My name is Eleanor Whitman, and I grew up dreaming of pine trees and open skies. If you enjoy stories told plain and true, stay a while. I'd love to have you along for this one. The basement wasn't always cold. First winter down there, David brought me an electric blanket. Pink, like something you'd give a child. "So you don't forget I'm a good husband," he said, patting my knee like I was a dog he'd grudgingly fed. I counted the stitches in its seams that night, 243. Perfect for hiding things in. He never checked the hem. By spring, I'd hollowed out enough space between layers to tuck away 3 things: my mother's wedding band, a grocery receipt with the pharmacist's personal number circled, and a single-edged razor blade. The ring kept me sane. The receipt kept me medicated. The blade kept me patient. David liked routines. 7:15, his boots hit the kitchen linoleum. 7:45, the percolator gurgled. 8:10, the front door slammed. I learned to tell time by the way light leaked through the gap under the basement door, thin as a fingernail at dawn, gone by mid-morning. Neighbors asked about me. I know because the vents carried their voices down like leaves floating into a gutter. "Eleanor's resting," David would say, voice syrup-thick with concern. "The dementia, it comes and goes." Once, I pressed my ear to the furnace duct and heard Bridget from next door say, "But she always kept such a nice garden." Her words hung there, awkward as a cough in church. David sighed like a man bearing crosses. The roses were the first thing she forgot. I dug my nails into my palms until I tasted blood. Every hybrid tea rose in that yard had come from cuttings I'd rooted myself. Winter number 3, David stopped locking the basement door. That's when I knew he thought he'd won. Men like him always mistake silence for surrender. He'd leave it open just a crack, an unspoken dare. Some nights I'd hover at the threshold, one bare foot on the bottom step, listening to him snore. 6 paces to the knife block. 17 to his recliner where he passed out watching westerns. I practiced in my head until I could walk it blindfolded. But revenge is a dish that rots if served too soon. Instead, I watched. Waited. Learned. Noticed how he winced rubbing his left thumb after phone calls with the bank. Saw the way his breathing changed halfway through his second whiskey. Paid attention when he started forgetting where he'd left his keys. The journals began as grocery lists. Innocent things tucked between cake recipes. Eggs, milk. Remember, David takes metoprolol at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. By year 4, they'd become something sharper. Dates, times, names of women he thought I didn't know about. Loan documents he'd forged. Every withdrawal from my inheritance account, recorded in the same careful script I'd once used to help my daughter with her cursive homework. The morning it happened, frost painted the tiny basement window white. I was threading Mom's ring onto a length of yarn when I heard the crash, not the usual stumble, but the wet thud of meat hitting floorboards. 13 seconds of silence, then the gurgling started. I counted to 300 before moving. Upstairs, David lay beside the overturned coffee table, one hand clawing at his chest. His lips were the color of June hydrangeas. When our eyes met, his widened, not with fear but astonishment, like a man who just realized the mouse he'd been torturing had teeth all along. I knelt, peeled his fingers off his phone, and called 911 nice and slow so the operator could hear his wheezing. "My husband collapsed," I said, voice trembling just right. "Please hurry." Paramedics said it was a massive myocardial infarction. The young one kept sneaking glances at my bare feet, my faded house dress, probably wondering why the grieving wife wasn't crying. Truth was, I'd wept all my tears years ago into that pink blanket, into soup I wasn't allowed to eat at the table, into the dirt when David made me dig up my roses because they attracted bees. What surprises me now, sitting in this sterile courtroom under fluorescent lights, isn't the pity in the jury's faces. It's the notebooks stacked on the prosecution's table, all 27 of them, spines cracked open like ribs. The prosecutor keeps calling them evidence, but I know better. They're maps. Charts of deep water where a woman learned to swim in the dark. I smoothed the sleeves of the sweater my daughter brought me, too itchy, but she remembered blue was my favorite color. The courtroom smells like lemon polish and nervous sweat. Behind me, someone's pen clicks over and over like a dying cricket. Prosecutor Reynolds adjusts his tie for the third time since I took the stand. "That morning, Mrs. Whitman," he says, tapping the top notebook, "you wrote something unusual in your diary." His thumb flips to a flagged page. "Would you read it aloud?" I don't need to look. The words burned themselves into my eyelids years ago. "Today's the day," I say, my voice doesn't shake. "The roses will bloom again." A juror gasps, the clicking pen stops dead. Reynolds pounces. "You knew your husband would die that morning." Across the room, the air conditioning kicks on. A strand of hair tickles my temple. I let it stay there. David always hated when my hair fell out of place. I knew a lot of things, I tell him. The way his left eyelid drooped after his third drink. That he'd take exactly 7 minutes to shower. How the vein in his neck pulsed when he lied about refinancing the house. The prosecutor's jaw works. "Did you tamper with his medication?" Outside, a delivery truck beeps as it backs up. The sound reminds me of David's stupid alarm clock, that shrill electronic bleat he never turned off fast enough. 6 years of waking to that noise in the dark basement while he slept in our king-sized bed, his snores vibrating through the floorboards. "He took half doses," I say. "Said the pills made him tired." I tilt my head toward the jury. "Ask his pharmacist. He'll tell you David renewed his prescriptions every 28 days like clockwork, but the bottle dates never matched." Reynolds spins toward the evidence table. A deputy hands him a Ziploc bag with orange plastic inside. "This was found in your husband's nightstand. 90 metoprolol tablets, nearly 3 months' worth." I almost smile. Men like David think cutting corners makes them clever. The gavel bangs. Judge Welland's eyebrows could frost windows. "Mrs. Whitman, please answer the question directly." "I didn't touch his pills," I say, then softer. "But I didn't remind him either." A woman in the gallery muffles a sob. The sound feels distant, like hearing someone cry through thick glass. I focus on the juror in seat 7, a grandmotherly type with crooked glasses who hasn't stopped staring at my hands. They're cracked from years of scrubbing David's floors with bleach. Funny how no one notices a woman's hands unless she's on trial. "Let's discuss the evening prior," Reynolds says. He flips another page. "You wrote, finished inventory, spoke to Beth about the azaleas. 12 years tomorrow." His tie knot bobs. What did that mean? The overhead lights hum. 12 years isn't just how long we were married, it's exactly how long Mom lasted after Dad died. She withered like an uprooted plant, apologizing for existing until the day hospice came. I used to think grief had hollowed her out. Now I understand she was waiting. "Beth's my sister," I say. "She sent cuttings from Mom's old garden." "Gardenias," Reynolds mutters, scanning notes. "Azaleas," I correct. "Mom planted them the winter after Dad's funeral. They bloomed like fireworks every May." His forehead creases. And this was relevant because I uncurl my fingers, studying the half-moons my nails left in my palms. David poured concrete over my flower beds the week he changed the house deed. For the first time, my lawyer stirs. "Objection, relevance." Judge Welland sighs. "Overruled. The jury may find context helpful." Reynolds steps closer. His aftershave smells like the lemon-scented wipes David used to disinfect my books. "Mrs. Whitman, did you and your husband argue that night?" The question hangs there, fat and obvious. I could lie, but truth tastes better after decades of swallowing David's version. He wanted me to sign new papers. Papers regarding the life insurance policy. Between my ribs, something tightens. He'd increased the payout, wanted me to confirm I still wouldn't get highway access if he died. Gasps ripple through the room. Even the stenographer hesitates. Reynolds blinks first. "Highway access? To my inheritance." The words feel smooth, practiced. David rerouted it through some shell company, said I might wander into traffic if it came straight to me. Judge Welland removes his glasses. "Mr. Reynolds, unless you're suggesting the deceased predicted his own demise." The prosecutor rallies. "Mrs. Whitman, that journal entry concludes with a disturbing phrase, harvest time. Care to explain?" Suddenly, I'm 8 years old again, kneeling beside Mom as she thins carrot seedlings. "You've got to make space," she whispered, "or the strong ones can't grow." I look straight at the jury. It's a gardening term. Reynolds slaps the notebook shut. No further questions. As I step down, the bailiff's radio crackles, 2 syllables of static that sound exactly like David sneering Ellie in that tone that meant trouble. My heels click against the floor. Click, click, like the night I crept upstairs in socks while his heart stuttered behind me. At the defense table, my attorney squeezes my arm. I don't tell her about the basement. How for 2,190 nights I lay awake cataloging every creak and groan of the house David stole. Or that when his last breath rattled out, the furnace kicked on, a deep, satisfied purr through the vents. Outside, rain sheets against the windows, the kind of storm that used to flood my basement. The kind David said I imagined. The jury foreman leans toward his neighbor, whispering. His lips shape the word diaries. Somewhere under 6 feet of Oregon clay, my roses are pushing through the dark. My name is Eleanor Whitman, and if you'd like to hear the rest of my story, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss what happens next. The courtroom feels like it's holding its breath as I walk back to my seat. The juror in the front row, a woman with silver-streaked hair twisted into a neat bun, won't meet my eyes. She reminds me of Martha from the church group, the one who used to bring casseroles and ask if David needed help managing me. The memory tastes bitter, like old aspirin dissolving on my tongue. My lawyer, Patricia, hands me a glass of water. Her fingers are warm against my wrist. "You did well," she murmurs. I don't answer. People keep saying that as if any of this is about doing well. As if surviving him was some test I needed to pass. The prosecutor, Reynolds, is shuffling papers at his desk, fingers fumbling slightly. He didn't like that last answer. The jury didn't either. I can see it in the way they shift in their seats, the low current of whispers between them. I know what they want: blood, guilt, a clean, simple answer to the mess David left behind. But nothing about what happened is clean. The judge peers over his glasses at the defense table. Does the prosecution have any further witnesses? Reynolds clears his throat. The state calls Dr. Isaac Langley to the stand. A murmur rises in the gallery. I don't turn around, but I hear the shuffle of feet, the scrape of chairs as spectators crane to see. The door at the back of the courtroom opens, and the man who pronounced David dead walks down the aisle. Dr. Langley looks like he hasn't slept in days. His white coat is rumpled, his short hair a little too greasy under the fluorescent lights. He takes the stand with the stiffness of someone who'd rather be anywhere else. Reynolds steps forward, hands clasped behind his back. "Doctor, you performed the autopsy on Mr. Whitman, correct?" "Yes." Langley's voice is quiet, almost reluctant. "And what did you find?" Langley exhales. "No external trauma, no signs of poisoning, no drugs in his system beyond his prescribed blood pressure medication." He pauses, pushes his glasses up his nose. "Cause of death was cardiac arrest. Severe occlusion in the left anterior descending artery, what's commonly called a widowmaker." A ripple of unease moves through the room. Reynolds nods too quickly, like he's trying to steer the jury away from the obvious. "And in your opinion, could anything have been done to prevent this?" The blockage was extensive. Even if he'd been at the hospital when it happened, maybe, but unlikely. The prosecutor nods again. Then, too casually, he asks, "Doctor, in your medical opinion, is it possible for extreme stress to trigger that kind of event?" Patricia stands abruptly. "Objection. Speculative." Judge Welland sighs. "Sustained." Reynolds doesn't flinch. "Withdrawn." He glances at the jury before sitting down. I don't need to look to know what that glance meant. They want to believe I scared him to death. That after all his years of control, I somehow, whispered the right combination of words to stop his heart. Patricia stands for cross-examination. She doesn't approach the witness box, just stays by the table, fingers resting lightly on the wood. "Doctor, how long had the blockage been developing in Mr. Whitman's artery?" Langley hesitates. "Years. Years," she repeats. "So this wasn't a sudden onset condition." "No." "And did his medical records indicate any warnings, any signs that his habits, his diet, his lifestyle might be contributing factors?" Langley's mouth tightens. "He had high cholesterol, persistent hypertension. He was advised to change his diet, reduce sodium, exercise." I bite the inside of my cheek to keep from smiling. David refused to so much as walk the dog around the block. He said sweating was for men who didn't know how to delegate. Patricia nods. "Thank you, doctor, no further questions." The judge dismisses him and Langley strides out without looking at me. Reynolds stands again. The state rests. 3 words, and just like that, the courtroom exhales. The jury shifts. Spectators whisper. The judge checks his watch. Patricia leans toward me. "We should call a rebuttal witness, someone to emphasize his pre-existing conditions." I shake my head. "They've got nothing." She studies me, hesitates, but doesn't argue. Judge Wellen peers down. "Defense." Patricia straightens. "No witnesses, Your Honor." A murmur rises. The judge bangs his gavel once. "Closing statements will begin tomorrow at 9 a.m. Court is adjourned." Chairs scrape as people stand, voices swelling. Reporters edge toward the exits, already thumbing notes. One juror, a man in a plaid shirt, casts me a long look, but I can't read it. Patricia touches my arm. "Let's get you out of here." We move toward the side door, bailiffs clearing a path. As we step into the hallway, the first camera flashes blind me. Shouted questions boil in the air. Did I regret anything? Did I feel free? Did I think the jury would convict? I keep walking. Then, cutting through the noise, a voice calls, "Eleanor!" I stop, turn. Beth stands at the edge of the crowd, clutching her purse. My sister hasn't spoken to me since she found out about the journal, since she read the things David had done. Her face is pale, eyes bright. For a second, she just stares at me, and I see the little girl who used to sneak me cookies when Mom wasn't looking. Then she steps forward. The crowd parts as she reaches me. I brace for a slap, for tears, for her to finally ask the question I know she's been carrying. "Why didn't you tell me?" But she only grabs my hand, tight, like she did when we were kids crossing the street. Behind her, in the fluorescent glare of the courthouse lights, the ghost of David's voice whispers, "Ellie." And for the first time in 6 years, I don't flinch. The courtroom lights hum faintly as the elevator doors close, sealing us away from the noise. Patricia exhales, loosening her shoulders for the first time all day. She watches the numbers descend. One more day. She's trying to sound confident, but her thumb keeps tapping against her briefcase strap. Beth hasn't let go of my hand. The elevator dings and we step into the underground parking garage. The air smells like cold concrete and old exhaust. Patricia leads us past the rows of cars, her heels sharp against the pavement. When we reach her sedan, she finally turns to Beth. "You coming with us?" Beth hesitates, then nods. "If that's okay." In the back seat, I watch the fluorescent lights flicker past. My sister's knee brushes mine, and I can tell she's trying not to cry. She's still holding my hand, fingers gripping too tight, like she's scared I'll dissolve into smoke. The last time she touched me was at Dad's funeral, 5 years ago. David had stood between us, one hand clamped on my elbow as he whispered, "Don't make a scene." Patricia clears her throat. "You hungry? Maybe stop somewhere quiet." Beth shakes her head. "Not for me. I don't answer because I already know where we're going." "Turn left here," I say. Patricia glances at me in the rearview mirror, a question in her eyes, but she doesn't ask. The streets blur past, rain starting to patter against the windshield. The wipers squeak. Beth's breathing beside me is uneven, shaky. I watch the houses grow older, the trees thicker. And then there it is, the 2-story colonial with the peeling blue shutters, the crooked porch step, the rhododendron bush Mom planted when Beth turned 16. Beth stiffens. "Eleanor, our parents' house." Patricia pulls into the driveway and cuts the engine. The silence swells. "I didn't think," Beth's voice cracks. "After everything, I didn't think you'd ever want to come back here." I undo my seatbelt. I need to see it. Inside, the air is stale. Dust floats in the thin light from the hallway lamp. The couch still has the same floral slipcover Mom obsessively straightened. The coffee table still bears the ring from Dad's whiskey glass. Beth lingers by the door, arms folded. Can't believe it's still standing. She tries to smile, but it's wobbly. Everything else is gone. Patricia drifts toward the fireplace, eyeing the framed photos, graduations, weddings, grandkids. "You two look alike," she murmurs. Beth snorts. "Used to." In the kitchen, I run my fingers over the counter. The knife marks from birthday cakes, the faint scorch mark from when I tried to make caramel and nearly burned the house down. Beth leans against the doorway, watching me. "You remember that time Mom caught us eating cookie dough at 2 in the morning?" I pause. "She made us knead bread dough as punishment." Beth huffs a laugh. "We needed it so hard it turned into a brick. Dad pretended to saw it like lumber at breakfast. The memory is warm, bright, but too soon the silence creeps back in. Patricia clears her throat. Eleanor, can I talk to you for a second? I follow her out onto the back porch. The wood creaks underfoot, rain still drizzling. She exhales slowly. You've been planning this, haven't you? I look at the overgrown garden, at the rose bushes tangled in weeds. Planning what? Coming here, today of all days. She rubs her temple. You don't do things without a reason. The gust of wind rattles the wind chimes. I used to write here, I say. Before the basement, I kept a journal in the pantry behind the flower canister. David never found it. Patricia watches me carefully. Is that why you wanted to stop? I don't answer. Inside, Beth calls, you two coming? Her voice is tight, like she hates being alone in there. Patricia grips the railing. Eleanor, if we're going to win tomorrow, I need to know, what are you hoping for? The rain drips off the roof. I don't want to win, I say. I just want them to hear it. Back inside, Beth is standing by the hall closet, her fingers tracing the scratches on the door frame, pencil marks from when Mom measured our heights every year. She doesn't look at me when she asks, why didn't you tell me? The question hangs there heavy. Patricia steps back toward the kitchen, giving us space. I stare at the marks, Beth always taller, always first. I tried. I whisper. She flinches like I've hit her. No, you didn't. I called you. The words come out raw. After the pneumonia, when he took the car keys, you said I was being dramatic. Beth's mouth trembles. And when he canceled Thanksgiving, when he said we couldn't visit Mom on her birthday, you told me to stop picking fights. She flinches again, tears spilling over. I thought it was just marriage problems. I step closer. Would you have believed me? She doesn't answer. The clock on the wall ticks. Outside, the rain falls harder. Finally, Beth wipes her face. I should have seen it, she whispers. I should have known. I don't tell her it's okay. She turns, reaches into the closet, and pulls out an old shoebox. Her hands shake as she opens it. Inside, yellowed envelopes, faded valentines, a tiny key. You remember this? She asks. The diary key. I take it, cold metal. Mom's. Beth nods. I found it after she died. Never told Dad. She swallows. Guess we were both keeping secrets, huh? Patricia reappears, clearing her throat. We should go tomorrow's. Big day, Beth finishes dryly. Yeah, but she doesn't move. The key digs into my palm. In the car, Beth asks quietly, do you still think about him? The rain drums against the roof. I turn the key over in my fingers. Every day. She nods like she expected that. Patricia starts the engine. The headlights cut through the dark. And for the first time in years, as we pull away from that house, I don't look back. The car hums under me, tires whispering against wet pavement. I press my forehead to the window, watching our reflection float through the dark. Beth in the front seat, staring straight ahead, me half hidden behind her, Patricia gripping the wheel like she's afraid it'll disappear. Cold seeps through the glass. My breath fogs the pain, then clears. Beth turns the radio down. Patricia, where are we? Hotel, Patricia says. Got us rooms under my name. Her eyes flick to me in the rearview mirror. No reporters yet, but they'll swarm tomorrow. You ready for that? The key from the shoebox presses a dent into my palm. They won't ask the right questions. Patricia snorts. They never do. We pass the old park where David used to take the kids on Saturdays, swings dangling limp in the rain. The slide a dark streak against the sky. Beth stiffens. She remembers, too, like when she was 8 and fell off the monkey bars and David carried her the 10 blocks home, refusing to let me call a doctor. She's fine, he'd said, while her wrist swelled purple. Stop coddling her. Beth's fingers twitch, hovering over the radio. Mom. She hesitates, then plunges forward. What are you going to say tomorrow? I close my hand around the key. The truth. She exhales, frustrated. But how much? The question lingers. Patricia merges onto the highway, streetlights flash by, throwing splinters of light across the dash. Enough, I say. Silence settles again. The hotel looms ahead, all bright lights and glass. Patricia parks near the back where the dumpsters block the view from the road. Stay here. She hops out, darting through the rain to check us in. Beth doesn't turn around. I should have believed you, she whispers. Rain taps the roof. 3 fast, 2 slow, like Morse code. I think of the basement, counting the seconds between David's footsteps. How I could tell what kind of mood he was in by the way his weight shifted on the stairs. How long it would be before the door opened. You wouldn't have been safe, I say. She shakes her head. I'm a nurse for God's sake, Mom. I recognize the signs, I just never. Her voice cracks. I thought he loved us. The wind rattles the car. Patricia returns, tossing a keycard into Beth's lap. Room 206. Eleanor, you're across from her in 208. We shuffle inside, shoes squeaking on polished tile. The lobby smells like bleach and burnt coffee. A TV plays muted news in the corner, weather report, something about the storm lingering. No one looks up. The elevator ride feels like forever. Beth stares at the numbers above the door. Patricia taps her foot. 2, 3, 4, ding. The hallway stretches long and dim, carpet swallowing our steps. Patricia stops outside my room, lowering her voice. I'll be down the hall. Don't answer the phone. Don't turn on the news. Try to sleep. Beth hesitates, glancing at me. You need anything? I shake my head. She nods, awkward, unlocks her door. Patricia grips my shoulder. Tomorrow, she murmurs, we make them listen. Then she's gone. The hotel room is small, a bed, a desk, a window that doesn't open. I sit on the edge of the mattress, running my thumb over the tiny key. Mom's diary. Full of recipes, grocery lists, the occasional pressed flower. And tucked near the back, a single entry she knew I'd find one day. Eleanor, sweetheart, you've always seen more than you let on. Be careful. I'd read it the day after her funeral, hidden in my old bedroom. Had no idea what she meant until David started moving things. The good silverware. The wedding china. Mine now, he'd said, casual. You won't use them anyway. A knock. Beth, barefoot, holding a glass of water. Thought you might want this. I set the key on the nightstand. Thank you. She hovers in the doorway. Patricia ordered food. It'll be here soon. I nod. She bites her lip. Mom, I wait. What? She swallows. What happens after tomorrow? The question I haven't let myself answer. I glance at the window, at the rain sliding down the glass. I don't know. She nods, quick. Okay. Another pause. Then quietly, can I come in? My chest tightens. I pat the bed. She sits beside me, elbows on her knees. The room hums with silence. Remember, she starts, then stops. Remember when I was little and you'd braid my hair before school? I smile just a little. You hated it. Because the other girls had barrettes. I wanted butterflies, Mom. She laughs, wet. I bump her shoulder. You got ribbons. And complained. She sobers. You never got mad. Because I knew the real fights were coming. She exhales. I should have been there. I touch her hand. She flips her palm up, gripping mine tight. For the first time in years, we sit together just like this and breathe. The moment doesn't last. Patricia's voice floats down the hall. Guys, food's here. Beth stands, pulling me with her. Tomorrow, the courtroom. Tomorrow, the reporters. Tomorrow, the truth. But tonight, we eat lukewarm pizza in a borrowed room, laughing quietly over old memories, carefully avoiding the ones we aren't ready for. And when the night quiets, when Beth finally drifts asleep curled beside me, I press my lips to her hair. We're here. And that, for now, that's enough. The rain keeps falling, soft and steady against the window. I listen to it while Beth sleeps beside me, her breath slow and even. My fingers trace the edge of the diary key in my palm. I should sleep, but my mind won't let me. Too many years of listening for footsteps. Too many nights spent wondering if the basement door would creak open. Morning comes too soon. The alarm blares and Beth jolts awake, blinking at me with sleep-heavy eyes. What time is it? 7. My voice is rough from disuse. She groans, stretching, then freezes. The weight of the day settles on her face. Court's at 10. I sit up, rubbing my stiff neck. Breakfast first. Patricia knocks 5 minutes later. She's already dressed, blazer, low heels, her dark hair slicked back. Ready? I open the door wider. Almost. Beth stumbles toward the shower and Patricia steps inside, setting 2 styrofoam cups on the desk. Coffee, black. I take one, savoring the bitter heat. Thank you. She exhales, crossing her arms. You good? I glance at the key on the nightstand. No. A beat. Then she nods like she expected nothing else. Good. I'd be worried if you said yes. Beth emerges half an hour later, damp hair twisted into a messy bun. She chugs her coffee while Patricia rifles through a file folder. We'll ride together, Patricia says without looking up. Court security is going to be tight. Reporters are already camped outside. Beth frowns. How do you know? Got 3 texts before 8. Patricia snaps the folder shut. Let's go. The lobby is louder today, voices, rolling suitcases, the clatter of silverware from the breakfast buffet. We avoid the glass doors, slipping instead through a side entrance. The parking lot smells wet and clean. The storm left puddles everywhere, tiny mirrors reflecting gray sky. Patricia leads us to her car. Beth climbs in the back, and I take the passenger seat. No one speaks as we pull onto the road. My fingers curl around the key again. Mom's diary is tucked inside my purse. 23 minutes later, we see the courthouse. Reporters swarm the building, mics and cameras at the ready, huddling under umbrellas against the drizzle. Patricia parks a block away. Jesus, Beth mutters. I unbuckle my seatbelt. They'll get worse inside. Patricia turns to me. You don't have to say anything you're not ready for. I look out the window at the crowd waiting. They deserve the truth. We walk in silence. The reporters spot us halfway. A shout goes up, then another. Cameras flash. Someone calls my name. Beth steps closer, her shoulder brushing mine. Patricia moves ahead, cutting through like a shield. Inside, security moves us quickly, metal detectors, bag checks. We're ushered through a side hall, away from the noise. My heart stutters as we pass the courtroom doors. A woman in a navy suit approaches, her heels clicking. Miss Whitman. I nod. She extends a hand. I'm Detective Hayes. We spoke on the phone. I remember. Her grip is firm, brief. We have a room set up. You can wait there until we're called. She leads us down another hall, this one quieter, carpeted. The room is small, with a table, chairs, and a single window overlooking the parking lot. Beth closes the door behind us. Detective Hayes lingers. Is there anything you need before we begin? My fingers find the key. No. She hesitates, then nods. 15 minutes. The silence stretches after she leaves. Beth leans against the wall, arms crossed. Patricia exhales. Smoothing her blazer, I walk to the window. The rain has stopped. Sun peeks through the clouds, turning the puddles gold. Patricia clears her throat. Eleanor. I turn, her expression is unreadable. Whatever happens in there, whatever you choose to say, it's your story. Not his, not theirs. Beth nods, slow and sure. We're with you. My throat tightens. I don't trust myself to speak. The knock comes too soon. A bailiff stands in the doorway. They're ready for you. I take a breath. Then we walk. The bailiff leads us down the hall, his polished shoes silent against the carpet. Each step feels heavier. The muffled buzz of the courtroom grows louder, shifting chairs, hushed voices, the rustle of paper. The air smells like coffee and old wood. My fingers twitch at my sides. I wish I'd brought Mom's diary in with me instead of leaving it in my purse. Something solid to hold onto. Patricia walks just ahead, her posture straight, her bag slung over one shoulder. Beth stays close beside me, her elbow bumping mine every few steps, a silent reminder that I'm not alone. The bailiff stops at a set of double doors, his hand resting on the brass handle. He turns to me. Ready? I take a deep breath. Yes. The doors swing open. The courtroom is packed. Every seat taken, people standing along the walls, reporters scribbling in notepads, photographers with cameras at the ready. The second they see me, whispers erupt, a wave of noise rushing toward me like a tide. My pulse thrums in my throat. A man near the front, gray suit, slicked back hair, leans over to the woman beside him and murmurs something I can't hear. She nods, eyes locked on me. I recognize them both from the news, legal analysts, here for the show. At the defense table, David's lawyer glances up from his notes. His expression doesn't change, but his jaw tightens. Beyond him, the prosecutor, a woman with sharp cheekbones and dark brown hair pulled into a tight bun, watches me carefully. She gives me a small, approving nod. The bailiff directs me toward the witness stand. I walk forward, my heels clicking against the hardwood. The judge, an older man with silver hair and wire-rimmed glasses, watches me over the bench. His face is calm, unreadable. The prosecutor stands as I approach. Your Honor, we call Eleanor Whitman to the stand. I raise my right hand, swear to tell the truth, then lower myself into the chair. The wood is cold beneath me. A microphone sits in front of me, thin and black, waiting. The prosecutor steps forward. Miss Whitman, thank you for being here today. I swallow, willing my voice steady. Of course. She moves slowly, her tone measured. Can you tell us in your own words about your relationship with David Whitman? The room falls silent. I let out a slow breath. We met 7 years ago at a charity dinner. He was charming, funny. He listened when I talked. It had been a long time since anyone really listened. She nods. And after you married? I press my palms flat against my skirt. At first, it was small things. He'd question if I really remembered conversations the way I thought I did. He'd insist I'd left a cabinet open, left the stove on, things I knew I hadn't done. Did this behavior escalate? Yes, the word comes out firmer than I expected. He convinced me to quit my job. He'd casually suggest who I should stop talking to, old friends, even my sister, always making it seem like it was for my own good. And then one day I realized I didn't speak to anyone outside the house anymore. Behind the prosecutor, the jury shifts. A woman in the second row frowns, her pen hovering over her notepad. The prosecutor folds her hands. And the house, the one you originally owned. My grip tightens on the arms of the chair. He told me it was smarter to put it in his name, that with his contracting business, it would be easier to manage repairs, taxes. I trusted him. By the time I realized what had happened, my name wasn't on the deed anymore. A murmur ripples through the spectators. The judge clears his throat and the room quiets again. And the basement? The prosecutor asks gently. I stare at my hands. The scars on my knuckles are almost faded now. He said it would just be temporary, just while he converted the upstairs office into a bedroom for me. But after the first month, the door had a lock on the outside, not the inside. Someone in the courtroom sucks in a sharp breath. The prosecutor waits a beat before continuing. Did you ever try to leave? I did. My voice cracks. Twice. The first time he convinced the neighbors I was confused, that I wasn't well. The second time he went to my son's house, told him I had early dementia, that I was a danger to myself. At the mention of my son, my chest tightens. He's here today, sitting near the back. I haven't looked directly at him yet. I'm not sure I can. The prosecutor's voice softens. Eleanor, when David collapsed that morning, what happened? I close my eyes just for a second, try to steady myself. I was making coffee when I heard him fall. I walked into the living room. He was on the floor, gripping his chest. His phone was next to him. And what did you do? For the first time, I look up, meeting her gaze. I picked up the phone, dialed 911, and then I sat down at the table. I waited. The prosecutor tilts her head. You waited 11 minutes. A stunned silence fills the courtroom. The prosecutor doesn't react beyond a slow nod. And during those 11 minutes, did you attempt to help him? I don't blink. No. Her next question comes softer. Why? The air in the room feels thick. Because, I say quietly, he once told me that in an emergency, every second mattered. That hesitation could cost a life. I look down at my hands again. I wanted to see if he was right. The defense attorney shoots to his feet. Objection, Your Honor, this is outrageous conjecture. The judge cuts him off with a raised hand. His eyes never leave me. Overruled. David's lawyer sits, his face tight with frustration. The corner of the prosecutor's mouth lifts just slightly. Eleanor, one last question. Did you kill David Whitman? The answer rises easily, like it's been waiting. No, but I let him die the way he taught me to, slowly and alone. The courtroom erupts. The judge bangs his gavel. Reporters scramble to scribble in their notebooks. The defense attorney is already whispering furiously to his team. Through the noise, I finally let myself look at my son. Ryan sits motionless in the back row, his hands clasped in front of him, his expression unreadable. Our eyes meet, and for the first time in 6 years, he doesn't look away.